Well, Joel, you were there in Washington with us for the 9/12 rally. We saw 2.1 million people there. The media virtually ignored the entire thing. I should say there were 2.1 million people and about 14 journalists there from all the different networks.
Most of them from Fox.
Exactly, exactly. We've seen this before, though, haven't we? I mean, we saw it in Iran with the elections there, that the president has yet to come out and condemn Ahmadinejad for ignoring the will of the people there. But we saw it even before that, and you were telling me during the video about what's in that museum right there.
Yeah, I mean, well, by the way, with the UN General Assembly going on this week, we're embracing Mahmoud, more or less.
Absolutely.
Ahmadinejad, more or less, these days. But, I mean, it is fascinating to me to take a look at it, too, because you and I were standing right by the stage, and I am looking out onto the National Mall, looking toward the Washington Monument, and you know that there was another group we're still investigating on that had taken out a permit just days after the original permit was taken out on the National Mall for the 9/12 march. And you know for a fact that if that permit had not been there and we were able to extend the rally all the way to the Washington Monument, what you don't see in most of the camera shots is that just beyond the trees, there were thousands, hundreds of thousands more that were crowded out into the street that couldn't make it on the mall. If all
2
of those
blocks
folks,
in either direction, too.
If all of those folks had been on the mall itself, you would have seen an ocean of humanity all the way to the Washington Monument. This was the largest protest rally in the nation's history, and you hear so little about it now.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, if you go back to the Martin Luther King Jr. speech, I have a dream, 895,000 people there in attendance for that speech. For Barack Obama's inauguration, 1.2 million people, according to his own Wikipedia page. And here you had 2.1 million people, Joel, and the news media virtually ignored it. A tree fell in the forest, and nobody heard it. But, back during President Reagan's tenure as our leader, the best president, in my opinion, in our lifetime, you saw the people in Germany, both East Germany and West Germany, come together because they were tired of the wall dividing them.
And that is, it's fascinating because you saw the museum in that clip, and I had a chance just after the museum had opened, it hasn't been open but a few years here, to tour that facility last year. And for a broadcast guy like yourself and myself, it's fascinating. You can spend a lifetime in there and not get through it. But there was a piece of the Berlin Wall that was in the museum. And you're walking and you're looking at that and you're looking at a piece of history. I believe it's the only piece of the Berlin Wall that is on U.S. soil right now. And you look at that and you think back on the history, East Berlin under the communist regime, and West Berlin, the free side of things, and you saw how the Voices of America radio network was there and how an entirely different environment was created on the West side because of the access to a freedom of speech. And to me there's a parallel there because you see what a chasm was created in society side by side in that situation. And you're able to see a litmus test, and not a small one of that. This wasn't a lab, this was a nation you're getting a chance to take a look at. And just how they responded. Freedom of expression and the ability to communicate ideas and the ideals that our nation was founded upon, capitalism and things like that, freedom of expression creates an environment for growth. And that's under attack now.
And yet you see it under attack. You see it under attack by the government. You see it under attack by this guy over at the Mark Lloyd over at the FCC, the diversity czar, who's trying to systematically get around. They can't bring back the fairness doctrine. You've worked in radio. They tried that. Reagan got rid of it. They've tried to bring that back. There was such an outcry, mostly because of Michelle Malkin and Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and their listeners getting that word out there. But you don't just have it coming from the government. You have these large corporations. Of course, we, the American people, now own NBC, which is beloved to the dear leader, President Obama. So they're not going to cover anything negative about him at all. But it's up to us. It's up to operations like this, the American Patriot Network. It's up to groups like Red State and Michelle Malkin at Hot Air and all of these guys. This week we saw some citizen journalists basically dismantle the operation of Acorn. And where was the major media? They were absolutely creating journalistic malpractice.
I mean, Charlie Gibson would have been there, but he didn't know.
He didn't know anything about it. He doesn't have the internet.
He gets a pass.
Exactly.
Because the man just didn't know. Clearly, it's a lot to cover when you're in the news.
Well, he's busy. There's all these tea parties and socialite meetings and
he didn't know about those
cabal. No, he didn't know anything about that. Well, listen, we're going to go back to Washington now and show you some more of the scenes there. And I really want you to pick up on this. The American people that were at this event, these real Americans, were not some angry mob. They weren't AstroTurf. They weren't bought and paid for by the insurance companies. They were there to voice their opinions, and they were there to send a very clear message. You'll hear that and see that in this clip. Let's take a look. When you look at what our founding fathers set up and where we're at today, how close to that vision that they set out for us do you think we are?
You don't want a real answer to that.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Well, it's 180 degrees. It's pathetic, and everybody here knows it. I think the majority of the nation knows it. We've got a record attendance today, and they're all sending a message, and that is that our government was meant to be a protector, not a predator. And we're going to continue to have these tea parties until the last snake legislator has to slither over our cold, smoldering bodies.
I spoke to a congressman this week, sir, and he said, he actually admitted that that about 63% of the bills that they pass are not under their constitutional authority. Now, he wasn't happy with that. He's a conservative. But what do you think it's going to take for the congressmen and senators in this town to listen to the American people?
I saw the same clip, and he said the majority of the bills are outside the Constitution. It's going to take something like this and repeat performances, unfortunately. Somebody asked me the other day, are you making a difference? I said, 1 czar down, 3 dozen to go. What else can you say? But thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
I'm mad, just like every other American here, and I came here to fight for my grandchildren because I want them to have the same freedoms that I grew up with. I'm just proud to be an American, and I want this government that we have right now stopped. We cannot afford socialism. Our forefathers fought for us to be a capitalistic country, and I agreed with them, and I am a Christian first, I'm an American second, and I'm a socialist never. And that's what I believe.
Now, you mentioned a Christian first. I also happen to be a Christian. Do you think that Christians in this country are politically active enough? Are they making a big enough difference standing up for the values that they believe in?
No, I don't think they are. Actually, I know in my own church that we are not standing up for the values that our forefathers fought for, and I think we should. We need to be heard. This country was founded on Christian values, and we need to speak up.
Now, you've been here all day. You know, the final Park Police count was 2.1 million people here. Do you think Congress is going to listen to this?
Well, we hope they do. If they don't, we'll try again.
That's right. Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, we're here in Washington, D.C. The final count from the U.S. Park Police was 2.1 million people today. And as you can see, I'm standing here next to a nice pile of garbage that these people, this angry Brooks Brothers mob, dared to pile up on their own without any government help whatsoever. They took it upon themselves and cleaned up after themselves. And folks, this is exactly what this movement is about. We've got to continue to stand and let our voices be heard. We've got to continue to take care of ourselves and tell these people in this building behind us that we don't need their help. We just need them to stay out of our lives. A congressman told me this week that 63% of what they pass out of this body back here, out of Congress, 63% of the bills that they pass are unconstitutional. Now, he's fighting to change that, but he's one of 437 in the House and another 100 in the Senate. Until they hear your voice, until they hear this crowd behind us, they're not going to get the picture that we are in charge. So we have to continue to stand up. Reporting live from Washington, D.C. on 9/12 Day. God bless you, America.